ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतो वन्दे भगवन्तो पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। उकारस्वन्धकारो वैरुकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ मनोबुद्ध्यहङ्कारचित्तानि नाहम् न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमिर्न तेजो न वायुः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायुः न वा सप्तधातुर्न वा पञ्चकोशः न वाक्पाणिपादौ न चोपस्थवायुः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् न मे द्वेषरागौ न मे लोभमोहौ मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्तो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञाः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् न मृत्युर्न शङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता च जन्मा न बन्धुर्न मित्रं गुरुनैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपः विबुद्ध्वाच्च सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां न चासङ्गतं नैव मुक्तिर्न मेयः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम्। So we were seeing the first shloka, मनोबुद्धि अहंकार चित्तानि नाहम् न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमिः न तेजः न वायुः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवः अहं शिवः अहम्. Like we mentioned, this is a set of verses focused on contemplation. Contemplation on who I am. The question, who I am, seems very out of place because I already know who I am. So I am this person so and so with this body, this mind, this sense complexes, all put together, this entity who is here looking at this world, undergoing various experiences. This is what I am. So why should I suddenly think there is some other I, which probably I don't even know right now and I have to find out. So that question of who I am itself seems incongruous because I'm not even seeking who I am. So where is this question of trying to understand whether I'm mind or buddhi, etc.? The search actually is not for who I am. The search is for a non-wanting me. Why am I searching for non-wanting me? Because I find myself always as a wanting entity. I am in need of something all the time. I am short of things. I am limited. I am limited in terms of what I know, in terms of what I have, in terms of what I can have, and in terms of my ability to execute things. So, and I am also finding myself emotionally wanting. I need acceptance from people. I'm wanting on self-acceptance. So I am always a wanting entity, dissatisfied with what I am, and all the time working towards somehow accumulating things which can make myself self-acceptable. This is what I am. So that keeps me as an unhappy person. Every now and then, though, I find myself to be a happy person. Suppose I hear a joke. Okay. Then I suddenly become happy without fulfilling any of my wants. Because suppose I have a want, to become a rich guy, I'm in need of, an acceptance in society from my financial status. I want my son to be a graduate, whatever. I can have 10 wants. So those are like keeping me occupied. But still, suppose I hear a joke. Okay, let's say there's one joke. Let me tell you one joke. Okay. So there's an Indian doctor who can't find a job. Okay. So this fellow in the US, okay, not the hospitals are not giving him a job. So he opens one clinic and he puts a sign outside the clinic saying that you get treatment for $20. If you are not cured, then I'll give you back $100. Okay. So then one American lawyer, he thinks, okay, this is a good opportunity to earn $100. So he goes to the clinic. Okay. So the lawyer comes and tells the doctor, I have lost, my sense of taste. I'm not able to taste things. Okay. Then this Indian doctor, he just turns around and he calls the nurse. Then says, hey, go and bring the medicine in the box, 22nd box there, box number 22. And then he puts 3 drops of that medicine in that lawyer patient's mouth. Okay. The lawyer says, oh, no, this is not medicine, this is kerosene. Okay. Then the Indian doctor says, okay, congrats, your sense of taste is now back. So you give me $20. Okay. So this lawyer gets upset. So, okay, fine, take this 20, goes out. Okay. Then after some days, he again comes back to see if he can get this $100. So he comes and tells this doctor, hey, doctor, I've lost my memory. I'm not able to remember things, and my memory is faltering. He says, don't worry, I have medicine. Okay, again, he calls the nurse, tells the nurse, hey, go and bring that medicine in box 22. Okay, open your mouth, I'll put 3 drops. He says, hey, this is kerosene. Last time also you gave me the same thing from box 22, he says. Then Indian doctor says, hey, congrats. So you got your memory back. So you are able to now remember things. So give me $20. Okay. So this fellow lawyer gets, so angry. Again, he gives him 20 and goes back. Then he thinks, okay, this time I should make it. Okay, get the $100. So he comes back and says, hey, doctor, now my eyes are becoming very weak. Okay, I'm not able to see properly. Okay, can you give me some medicine? So the Indian doctor says, no, sorry, I don't have medicine for eyesight improvement. So, okay, take this $100. The lawyer looks at it and says, hey, this is not $100, this is $20. Hey, congrats, you got your eyesight. Now give me back the $20 and your $20 more. Okay. So this is a joke. It's not a great joke, but some joke. Okay. Now, this joke makes some people laugh, right? Now, when you heard this, and suppose you laughed for it, you felt good. Did you have to complete any of your wants for you to be happy? No. So, in order for you to be happy, it is not necessary that you should have completed all your wants. Okay. In fact, none of your wants got, you know, got cleared in the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right? Since we spoke this joke. But still, there is some sense of happiness there. So, where is this happiness coming from? Is the general question. So, the question is this happy me that I'm finding every now and then, is this the true me? Or the unhappy me, which is there 90% of the time, is that the true me? Okay? That is where the person's search for who I am, in a sense, starts. Okay. Now, again, see, different religions will give you different solution for this happy me. They'll say you can't become happy here. Go to heaven. Go to Golok Brindavan. Something like this. Okay. But here we are saying that no, it's not necessary that I have to go here and there. Okay. Sitting at this place at this time, I am able to be happy. So that doesn't mean all the time I can keep listening to jokes, I can continue to be happy. That's not the point. The point is non-fulfillment of wants also can bring out the happy me. That is what we are, that is where this question has come, who I am. Okay. Now this happy me is possible only if there are no wants. Okay. Simple. You temporarily suspended those wants when you became happy with the joke. All those wants were not in your mind. You were free at that moment. Right? If there is a way all your wants can go away, then you can find your happy yourself. Now, there's two ways of looking at that, right? One, I can say I can do mano nasha. Okay? The whole mind and thought I eliminate, okay, and then I can be happy. But if you look at it, it's not your mind or thought which was a problem. Okay? It is always the I which is the problem. Okay, how you look at the I. Okay, the problem is focused on the I, the ahankara. It's not, mind can have thoughts. The thoughts are all fine, right? They are, any kind of thought can come and go. In fact, the wants are also not actually a problem. The problem is the wanting me. Okay, the me, the focused on I. There are conclusions on this I, ahankara, which is where the problem is. Okay, I am a wanting person is the problem. Okay, I am short of things. My conclusions that I am unhappy, I am short, is where all the problems are focused around. That is why this I is where the inquiry is. Okay, now let's get to where we were. So we saw some of how the mind, intellect, and and thoughts, manas, all of them are looked at from science perspective, from different darshanas. So let's look at, I said last time we look at the ego or ahankara later, right? So what is this ahankara? Okay. Ahankara is the individuality. Okay. That is the sense of I where I am making conclusions and having emotional clingings. All these are linked to the I. Okay, this is called ahankara. Okay, the sense of I. Okay, so the dissatisfaction, the satisfaction, all this pain, everything is focused on this I sense. Okay, brain or buddhi is just making some decisions and things like that, right? And mind is only, looking, looking at things, experiencing things, all that, right? Chitta, we said, is only a memory. All these are not a problem. The problem is this I sense, okay, and the conclusions about this I sense. Okay, that is where, and I am a good person, I am a bad person, I am a hurt person, I did this wrong, I am always at the receiving end. So all these conclusions is where all the problems, and that is the I sense, right? And it is, and everything in this mind and in this world revolves around this I. Okay, things are, I do things, I try to go after things only to keep this I satisfied. Okay, but this I never gets satisfied, right? It's only short time satisfaction. You keep on running around and around and around, but still it is always found wanting. Okay. Therefore, this ahankara is the focus. So chitta and manas we saw. Okay, so let's skip that. Now, between this ahankara and the buddhi, what is the connection, right? So this manas, okay, is purely a sankalpa vikalpatmakam anaha. Okay, the one that is always looking at this and whether I should do this, not do this, whatever, right? So those kind of things is what manas does. Okay, buddhi is the one which is making decisions, right? It is the one where you can take some concrete initiatives or decisions around things. Okay, they are very deterministic faculty. Okay, which is where the buddhi is like more the intellectual, manas is more emotional, like we said already, right? But the emotions again are backed up by your I. Okay, it's all focused on the I. Now, so if you have to deal with the problems around I, okay, it can't be the mind through which you can solve it, because mind is always fluctuating. So essentially, the whole thing has to be addressed at buddhi level. Okay, it is buddhi level only. Okay, because why I am saying this, even this text here again, I picked up from the net, but it is correct only. See, the whole problem with modern Vedanta and modern other spiritual approaches, why I'm saying modern Vedanta, they have also got influenced by this, is how can an intellectual knowledge be moksha? Okay. All that you are doing through Vedanta study or all this is only intellectual. You have to go beyond intellect and then get into the realm of manonasha. Once the mind is suspended, buddhi is suspended, everything is suspended, then you transcend all this and then you reach. So all these fancy words they use, and you think there is, something which is beyond buddhi. Beyond buddhi is what? Because you have to understand. See, even to understand beyond buddhi, you need buddhi first of all. Okay, everything happens within the buddhi. So any understanding, any recognition is in the mind only. Okay, so this jnanam, even experiences. Okay, suppose you go to nirvikalpa samadhi and all that. Even that you have to come out and say through your buddhi recollection and manas that I was in nirvikalpa samadhi. Yeah. So you can't just say that I will dissolve buddhi and manas and reach a supernatural state and all that. Okay. Yeah, you can temporarily you can suspend it. If you have the ability, you can do all this Ashtanga yoga and gain samadhi sthiti. But that will last for what? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 hours, 10 days. Again, you will have to come back, right? Once you are back, the same problems continue. But even then, even if you do those 10 days, you are still achieving it through only buddhi, right? So again, now coming to the seeking, there is a reality around you. You can't run away from it. Okay. So if you are in meditation for 8 hours, you are running away from it for 8 hours. That's all. I'm not saying it is wrong, but how long can you run away? Okay. So you will be in the thick of transactional world. Okay. So you can be happy, non-wanting me in the transactional world only if you recognize, if there is a possibility that you are a non-wanting me and you can achieve that state, you should achieve it in the transactional world. Then only you can be a happy person in this world when you are doing transactions. Okay, when you are interacting with the world, even at that time, you need to be happy. All the time you need to be happy, as in not like he happy, that not that happy. The non-wanting, peaceful me is what I'm seeking, right? This joy and laughing and all can come and go. That's okay. I'm not saying all the time you'll be laughing like a mad guy. That's not the point. The point is all your dissatisfaction, the wanting me goes away and you are a full being. Okay. If that is possible only when the buddhi is able to resolve the issues focused on the I. So the ahankara is where the conclusions on the ahankara and who I am, how I am, what I am, and things around what I have done, how I am acting today. Okay, all these conclusions focused around I, which is cause of what I am lacking, what I am wanting. Okay, which is focused on I. Until that is resolved through your brain, buddhi, there is no happiness. Okay. So the whole Vedanta and these verses are, that is why, focused on ahankara through your buddhi. The buddhi. So all this knowledge can happen only through a cognitive knowledge which happens through buddhi. That is where Shastra comes into picture. But then the question is, hey, by studying Shastra, I will get only a indirect knowledge. Suppose somebody tells me that sun is nothing but fusion, energy released through fusion. Okay. That's not a direct knowledge. Okay, I understand that concept. That concept doesn't okay, it can have some understanding of what sun is. Okay. But that is not a direct knowledge. Right? So how can here a buddhi understanding something give me a freedom? After buddhi understanding something, then I need to experience it. Will I get another experience? This transitive experience, right, which is beyond all this buddhi, the experience. Again, we will seek experience. Okay. So that is how we think. Intellect will give you only some knowledge, and then we have to actually experience. So intellect will give you a knowledge, okay, how the Amazon forest is. Okay, some pictures are there, some videos also may be there. Some people may also tell how Amazon forest is. I can gain an indirect knowledge, but then I have to go and experience this Amazon knowledge forest. Is it like that? That once you gain some knowledge through buddhi, this Atma needs some experience? Is another question people generally have. Okay. Here, this Atma, who am I, is I. We are talking about I, not this or that. Okay. If it is I, then that I is already experienced. Okay. You are not newly going to experience a new I. Okay. There is no new I experience. Therefore, what needs to be clarified is what is this I? And is that I a limited I? And is it a wanting I? And once that clarity is there, is brought in as a cognition in the buddhi, you don't need any separate experience. Okay, assuming this I is really a happy I, right? That happy I, once it is shown, then you will remain that happy I all the time. But that I can't be this mixed up I. Okay, this I is mixed up with so many things. What is this so many things? This is where this manobuddhi ahankara. All this is where the I is mixed up. Okay, therefore, it is about the buddhi. Here, if you see what is written, the buddhi is colored. This dusty and all that, again, don't think it is some true tangible dust which is sitting the buddhi or, I am bad, all that, right? It's not that. It's purely ignorance. Okay. Now that ignorance has some children. Okay. So the avarana and vikshepa is what we talk about in Shastra. So once you are covered, suppose there is a rope lying somewhere and you are not able to see it properly, it's not properly illuminated. Okay. So you have ignorance that it is a rope. Now it is not, it doesn't only stop with ignorance of rope, it also projects other things on it, because in your mind you suddenly think maybe it's a snake, maybe it's a stick lying there. Okay, all this comes from what? The ignorance of rope. Okay. Now that is what happens when your mind is not clear what it is, then all the superimpositions come. Then I am a wanting person comes, and then I cut corners, I go against the law, and then I become guilty, I get hurt, all that, then it becomes a very complicated life. Okay, therefore, the buddhi has to be, in a sense, cleaned up from this ignorance. Okay. It's not that, oh, my mind is all ignorant, I have to do so many things to bring the mind back into proper state. And don't think like that. The remedy is purely understanding what one is. Okay, it is one of knowledge. That is why the guru and all that is spoken about. Okay. Now coming back to mano buddhi ahankara. What does Vedanta say from mano buddhi ahankara? The Upanishads, which is Vedanta, talks of, because this we didn't cover last time, we only superficially covered. We were running out of time, that's why I'm talking about it. We'll close Manobuddhi Ahankara in shortly, few minutes, and move to other things. But we saw what science talks about mind, then we saw what Nayayika and Yoga Mimamsa, Yoga and all these people talk about. Now let's look at how Upanishads, Vedanta look at it. Right? So mind, buddhi and all that are also seen as part of the gross body only. Okay, gross and subtle. Okay, basically through the bhuta. I think we briefly covered that. So the mind also is nourished by food. The whole body is made of food only, right? In fact, annam brahme divyajanat, annadhyeva imani bhutani jayante, all that Upanishad says, Taittiriya Upanishad. From food only, the whole thing, creation is made and sustained. Because what you see this as this body is what? What was there in the plate as some idli and dosa only has become this body, correct? Because it is made of food. Okay. Annena jatani jivanti, annam prayanti abhisham vishanti. It's all comes from food, goes back to food. It becomes food for vultures and other creatures later. The body came from food. Okay, my parents ate some food, and from which it all started. And then once I'm born, it grows through food. And then once this life goes away, it goes back as food for others. So it is made of food. It is sustained by food. It dissolves into the food, right? So this whole body is food only. So mind can't be separate from it. Buddhi can't be separate from it. All of that is food. Okay. But there is something else which reflects on it, because of which this whole food can become this nourished body and it sustains a life. And then at some point, despite everything being there, okay, but it is called dead. Okay, the whole body is still there. Somebody that dies at the year of 35. Body is strong. The person looks all good. Okay, some heart attack happened, something is gone, right? No, heart is still there, everything is there, but the person is not getting up. So therefore, this instrument is nothing but food only. Okay, it's an instrument. Something else is possessing it, and there is life. Okay, it is very clear. Now this mind in Mandukya and also in Bhagavad Gita also, okay, the mind can be managed, is brought out very clearly. Okay, so what in summary, I just picked up some three separate things, right? From mind's perspective, right? Number one, mind is a medium, right? It's part of the body. Okay. Second, the mind also is made up of the subtle parts of the food. Okay. Therefore, the nature of food you eat can influence how the person thinks, at least for some period of time. That is why we have this ahara niyama and all that spoken about. So people have, in those days, they have looked at which kind of food creates what kind of impact in your mind. So they have divided into sattva, rajas, tama and all that, and say, okay, if you eat this kind of food, your mind will be more balanced, will become sattvika, all that. Because the mind, buddhi, all that is an effect of the food. So the niyama is, it's all very scientific only, right? The niyama is very important. Depending on what is your pursuit, right? If you are pursuing knowledge, the nature of food that you want to eat is different. But if you are pursuing, say, more physical activity, you do have different kind of food. If you are in pursuit of more travel and all that, you will have different kind of food. That is how the food, the ahara niyama also in those days were given to people. Depending on what is the nature of work that they happen to do, the food also changes. Because the food influences your mind. You want to keep your mind very active and all the time agitated because you are getting into a war, you eat that kind of a food. If you are traveling all the time, you need a kind of food which keeps your body fit enough for travel. You can have different kind of food. If you are doing physical labor all the time, you need a different kind of food, right? If you are mostly sitting and doing some intellectual work, studies and going after knowledge, then you need a different kind of food which helps you in that. Okay. That's why in the Varna Krama also, the Varnashrama system, the food was different for different Varnas. They think it is purely cultural. It's not cultural. Okay, it is Shastric. Because the Shastra says that, okay, this food for this kind of work will help you. It will make you more tamasic, more rajasic, more sattvic. There's nothing wrong or right. It is just a classification depending on what is the nature of work you are doing. Yeah. Now, whether it is by birth or this and that, see again, this by birth problem also, the idea was, like we said, you are born of food, you are sustained by food. When you are born of food, you are born of the food eaten by your parents, right? Now, your genetic composition, the basic genes, is based on the food system which has been there in your family hierarchy, right? And that also influences how your makeup is. That is why all those things were also there. Okay, people used to say if you are born of this kind of a genetic thing, then you are better suited to do this kind of a thing because that is how your composition will be. Now there can be exceptions, and this person can, after being born, could have become different. That's all a different thing. But I'm just saying how this whole thought process was probably at the time when people structured this kind of system. Okay, assuming it came right now, and the tradition believes that that is how it has been from Srishti itself. Okay. Now coming back, the third one. So second is that food. Okay. Now third, this mind can be controlled. Okay, it can be made single focus by certain practices. It's also said in the Shastra. Yata Deepo Nivatastaha Nengate Sopama Smrita, and all that in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan also talks about how this mind stays stable like a windless, a lamp in a non-windy place. Okay, it is like not flickering. So, but here mind assumes, then it becomes Brahman and all is a wrong translation. Somebody has translated it wrong. Okay, so don't go by that. Okay, it doesn't become Brahman. Becomes identified is okay. Okay, so become Brahman is a very confusing way of saying, but the idea is mind can be trained. Okay. Okay. The mind, so we will see all this later. So therefore, I was talking about Ahara Shuddhi. Okay. Ahara Shuddhau Sattva Shuddhi. Chandogya itself says. Sattva here means mind. Okay. So when there is Ahara Shuddhi, your mind also. Purification is like, in terms of, if you want a sattvic mind, go for a sattvic unadulterated food. That's how it is. It's not like, pure food doesn't mean like the way we look at pure food. The pure is, I mean, the nature of the unadulterated. Okay. So that food then gives you the right kind of um, disposition, and then you can expose yourself to this knowledge. That's what is that. Okay. And also see this point, right? The third bullet. He says food is, Acharya says in his Bhashya, that food is not just what is eaten. In fact, Ayurveda also says this. Okay. Food is, ahara means all that is taken in, which means what you, through every sense, not just your mouth, the kind of things you hear, the music that you listen to, okay, the physical activity that you do, right? The things you smell, the environment that you breathe in. Okay. All these also influence your body and your mind. That even today, scientifically, they say that they want you to listen to the right kind of music before you sleep. In fact, there are this deep yogic music. I listened to some of it. I forgot the name. Okay, it is like before you sleep, they say the deep meditation, right? So they say listen to that kind of a music which kind of makes your mind settle down. So it's again your buddhi and manas not just by the food you eat by your mouth, but also the music that you listen also influences it. And where you are physically, there's a huge contribution of that. In the environment that you live, there are many things which you take in physically also. What you what you smell. That's why if you have a fragrant dhupa, then you are able to meditate well. Suppose you like jasmine fragrance and you have a stick which gives jasmine fragrance, then your mind is able to peacefully sit and meditate. Right? Suppose you don't like rose fragrance and then you have that, then you are disturbed. So all these also have an influence on you. That is why Ayurveda, for certain treatments, they say look at everything, because your ahara is what all senses take in. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkaha. Bhagavad Gita also, Bhagavan says this. Take the right kind of food, ahara. We interact in the right way with the world, vihara. Enjoy in the right way. Yukta cheshtasya karmasu, and engage in activity in the right measure and in right activities. Yukta swapna avabodhasya. Even dreaming and your fantasizing, all these things also have to be in the right things. Then yoga becomes easy. Therefore, all these contribute to your buddhi and mind. Okay. And your other vasanas, despite all that, there is your unconscious which comes out. You need to manage the unconscious. So by sublimating it, that is where more of all the despite whatever we just spoke about your mind and all that, is what we can physically do. Right? Get into a right place, have the right food and all that. But still, what about things which are already deep inside me? I am in a neat place, I am eating good food, still my mind is bringing out all kinds of things I am not able to. So these are what we call as vasanas. And there we say it can come from two sources. One, your childhood, hurt and guilt and how you are formed. That's called inner personality or inner child in the modern psychology. Or we in tradition believe that it can also come from previous births. If you believe in previous births, then your vasanas could come with your atma from previous births also. This is a belief. This is a shastric belief. Now that it is up to somebody. You can take purely as psychological need internally, or some people can choose to believe that it came from previous birth. It doesn't really matter. But it is a vasana which is there in you, and that needs to be also processed. Then only you become more and more qualified to gain this jnanam, because you won't be disturbed in your mind when you are listening. Okay, so that is about manas and buddhi and all that. I think we will move. I will come to this later. Okay, we will see a little bit more now. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham is the first line. Then nacha shrotra jihve nacha grana netra. This is about senses. Shrotra is ears. Jihva is tongue, taste. Grana is nose. Netram is eye. Touch is left out, so you can add 5 senses. The third line is Nacha Vyoma Bhumihi Na Tejaha Na Vayu. This is about elements, things that you are experiencing outside is what is the third. Okay, because the whole world is made up of these 5 elements. Vyoma, Bhumi, Tejo, Vayu. Again, 4 only are said here. Vyoma is Akasha. Bhumi is the earth. Okay, and our Vyoma is space. Bhumi is solids. Tejaha is heat. I wouldn't say fire. Vayu is all air and all that. Okay, only fluids are left out here, so we can include that also. So the whole world is made up of that. So which means whatever I'm seeing outside is covered in the third line. The senses through which I see and experience the world, sensory faculties, are mentioned in the second line. Okay, first line is mental faculties, second is sensory faculties, third is external world, and fourth is my nature, who I am. So it basically dismisses the thing that I am not these mental faculties, I am not the sensory faculties, nor am I the external world, but I am beyond all the three. What is beyond all the three is where we need to see, which is the fourth line. Now look at the picture below, right? So it just gives you a depiction. However, worldly, this is all known to us, right? This is, but just we are just objectifying and trying to understand it in more, in a model, putting a model there, right? There are mental senses, there are physical senses, and then there are objects outside. This is how we perceive the world. Okay, so this is eye, okay, and this is tongue, or this is eye, right? So this is touch, this is hearing. Touch, hearing, sight, taste, and smell. Okay, so this is smell. So that's why they have shown the nose. Okay, so the thing is, all these are known to me. Okay, the external world is known to me. My senses are known to me. That I am seeing this world is also known to me. Okay, therefore this I knows all the three, stands other than this. That is what is shown here. So we know what are the senses. Okay, I don't have to explain that, but just for completeness perspective, I have this slide I just picked up obviously from the internet. Okay, so these are the 5 senses. And how does the sensation happens through the senses? There are this golaka. We talk about golaka. This is a golaka, right? This is not a sense. It is a golaka. This is a receptor. In English, in science, they call it as receptor. Okay, like in the IoT world, right? You have the sensors which is sitting. All it does is like physically it is touching the rays or it is touching the wind, whatever, right? And now that's all the receptor does. It doesn't understand anything. The sensor, it doesn't have all the intelligence, right? It just collects the signal and sends it to the central computer, which does all that, right? Similarly, here the receptor is just in touch with the wind, which is bringing in the smell. Okay, but the smell goes through the inner organ. Okay, let's take the sight. I have some pictures. How does the sight take place? Okay, this is again a science view, right? And which is fine. We don't have to debate it, just to understand. So this perceptor, okay, so the receptor for the perceiving eyes, okay. So it is your, if you see here, the cornea, okay, is like a camera only, right? So the light hits your eyes, okay. The receptor is just a physical, eye, that's all. Okay, it doesn't have any thing of its own. Okay, it has the thing, whole thing happens in your brain, right? Then the light falls on your retina, and the nerve cells carry them through. Okay, so these optic nerves, they say it is like an electric pulse. Okay, it's the neuron flow, whatever that. I'm not a biologist or doctor or scientist, but generally at a broad level, we know that this is a whole nervous system, right? Which takes it from the eyes, the golaka, to the brain. Okay, then the whole sight takes place. Okay, so that is the sense of sight, right? Similarly, if you look at the ears, the hearing sense, okay, the sound. So you have this eardrum, okay, and it is made of a particular shape, which helps it. See this. Look at the intelligence, right? Like the eyes and ears. We say we even debate whether there is Bhagavan, God is there or not there. I mean, look at the amount of intricate way this whole thing is designed, right? Look at the ears. Think of ears. For ears to hear a sound, it needs to work this way, right? And each one of them is a well thought out, intelligently assembled stuff. And how can you say it just happens through nature? So if you have to say it happens through nature, then you have to say that nature has intelligence. Nature thinks about how sound can be sent through the ears and can be made cognizable in the brain. If intelligence is there in the nature, an intelligent nature, then that is what we call as Bhagavan. It's only the naming problem. You call it nature, I call it Bhagavan. That's all. Okay. Intelligent nature is Bhagavan. You are saying it is nature with intelligence. That's all. So I don't bother, and I don't mind you calling it nature then. Okay. But if you say the nature doesn't have any intelligence, but it is only inert, and these things happen, this much of intelligence can just happen from inert, then it is not acceptable. No, it doesn't make sense. So look at how the ears have been designed. And this is only human, right? There are like zillions of living beings that most of which we don't even know. Even the science doesn't know yet what are all things which have life, right? So the waves go in, it goes to the eardrum, and then it has a soft, thing which vibrates, and there are vibrating bones behind it, and then that creates, signals which makes me understand the sound which is made. See, there is so much of mechanics here, right? So there are specific terms there, right? Incus, steps, maneuvers, and all that. Okay, see, I can't teach all myself. I'm reading it through this, but the point is, hearing itself is a very complex system. Okay, and then we generally talk about five senses, but if you go through, some of the content on the web, there are things beyond these five senses also. Okay, like there is a proprioception. They say your brain has a sense of how your body behaves in space, right? Like for example, if I need to touch your tip of the nose, right? If even with my eyes closed, I'm able to exactly bring my finger and touch my nose. What is the sense? It's not through my eyes, right? How do I exactly know where my tip of my nose is? So they say it is another sense. Okay. Then there are subtle sense they talk about. Okay, like movement to control balance, tilt of head. Again, kinesthetic is what they say. Okay. So these are all like physical senses, right? And then there are extrasensory things, right? Some people have other senses. They talk about synesthesia. Okay. So again, they say it is a condition, but still, it is a kind of sense which the brain has developed, right? So it is synthetically hearing multiple things together, right? And an integrated way. So there are these kind of senses. So there is a sensory. So these are the sensory things. There are 5 senses and beyond. And there is also, if you read the net, they talk about sensory integration. Okay. So their brain is able to tie together what different senses bring in. And there are certain areas in the brain which, so what they have done is they have analyzed, so they have put some sensors on in the brains and see which areas of the brain have activity when certain things happen. Okay. So when you're smelling something deep, right? Certain areas of your brain is impacted. It is active. Suppose you are seeing a beautiful thing, which part of your brain is having activity? So based on that, they have identified, which part of the brain actually is associated with which sense. And they talk about association areas where multiple senses are tied together. Okay. Touch and taste are tied together. So those kind of things. Okay. So there is a sensory integration. Now this is how this whole thing is tied together. Okay. So there are physical objects and there is a mental objects like in the dream. Okay. When in the dream, even though the physical golaka like your eyes, nose, tongue, the physical things are not active, but the senses are active. Okay. Your inner organs. Okay. So because we talk about in Shastra, even though we see it's all neurologically connected, right? So if you look at the eyesight, even though the golaka is here at the end, the brain is here at the other end. In between, there is a nervous system through which the whole thing happens. But the whole process together until the golaka is what we are calling as the senses. It's not the eye golaka which is there, which is the sense, but that whole system is what is called the sense. That is active in dream. Because when you have a dream, often you will find when you get up, you will see that particular sense is active. Okay, suppose you are seeing a very bad dream. Somebody who is outside can see your eyelids shaking and all that because your eye sense is actually active. You are not opening the physical eye, but that sense is still working inside. Okay, so that is why these are called mental objects. Like in the dream case, the senses are the indriyas are working. So what we say here is there is physical organ. Then there are senses, which are your software, which is through your nervous system and how the whole brain and that particular physical organ is connected. And what comes from the senses physically goes into your mind for processing, right? And then the decisive part of it is your buddhi, which is actually making inferences and making conclusions. And that what you are concluding is centered around I, the individuality. Okay. This I is, you make conclusion saying, I am being hit, I am being hurt, I am being scolded, or I am the one who did the mistake. So every signal that comes from the world is with reference to this I is what is seen. The buddhi actually makes association with the I. Okay. Now we say there is a self, okay, but actually this I skipping the individuality is the self. Okay, we'll come to the self, that is Shiva. We'll come to that later. Okay, now this is a science view of how they are all coming together. Okay, so have we even moved on from what we spoke in the last session? Yes, we have. Okay, what we are trying to do now is, see, last session we spoke only about Manobuddhi Ahankara Chitta. Now we are saying how that Manobuddhi Ahankara Chitta is linked to Shrotra Jihva and Vyoma Bhumi, how they are all together, right? The mind, the senses, and what is perceived through them as an external world. Okay. Now, this again, this whole integrated experience is also spoken by different darshanas. Okay. So, like last time, we will see, I think we are getting to top of the hour now. We will see in the next session how different darshanas also look at it. Okay. So, this is the Nayayika's view on how these karanas, pratyaksha, direct perception work. Okay. And how does that jnanam takes place? So they have a view. Again, there is a how these are interconnected. Okay, we briefly saw, but we will see in detail some of these things, right? How there is also, see, another thing, right? What we saw is how the science looks at how the jnanam takes place. Like there is an external thing which triggers, and then the eye golaka looks at an object. Okay, there is a cell phone. My eye golaka is looking at it. Now this light from it reflects and then goes into my cornea, retina, whatever, and then it goes to my brain. The brain is sensing this object. But there is a Shastra view which is about Vritti Vyapti and Pala Vyapti. Okay, it's a slightly different way of looking at it, right? When I say there is a phone here, the phoneness is known because of a phone Vritti. Vritti means a change in my mind. Okay, a thought change. The thought change has gone and pervaded this phone, and that is called Vritti Vyapti. And the Vritti Vyapti, when the Vyapti means pervading, Vritti means a change in my mind, right? That is a thought function. Okay, and that's what is the word used here. Now, the thought function, when it pervades the Pala, then there is a Pala Vyapti. Pala is this, the object, right? So the object is gained in my mind as a perception when the vritti pervades the pala, which is the object. This is the Shastra way of looking at how the perception takes place. Okay, there is a vritti vyapti and pala vyapti in the case of eye, whereas it doesn't happen in the case of ears. So all those things are there. We will see in the next session. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hello.